So this presentation is about the history of Yahoo's web page and about their navigation, and by doing this presentation, we're also going to go through the various design and navigation um, paradigms that developed over the years. In this case, with Yahoo since 1996. So we're looking at 21 years of Yahoo history. So starting with this first, with 1996, with their first page that's available through the Wayback Machine. This was not unusual in those days. You didn't do much with images, you had no video, no audio, and basically it was list. And they had categories that they decided were relevant. And their weekly picks. There was now a German Yahoo. They had some starting to have some navigation up here in terms of things that weren't so much about topics as they were useful to find out information how you do your life, like stock quotes and headlines and maps and searching for people in yellow pages and so forth. So let's actually move on to 1997. So we start to see the introduction of icons as buttons. New, cool. Back then, I mean, there were so few websites around 1997 that just new or cool would bring up a list to kind of review what's happening that recently. Here they had a little contest. Still all text-based links. Here we see, down here we start to see they can start shopping and use Visa. There are Yahoos at different parts of the world now. They're building up with information and topics relevant to those particular places. Same topics, but you see that what changed here is now we've gone to 2 columns, trying to make it a little easier to scan and read. And they've put a subline for each main topic with these, it's an introduction of what's in that particular topic. If you click on that, you'd see the other categories and so forth. And basically browse your way to sites that you want to look at. Then there's a search bar. Notice here that there's a search, but here it's placed below here, the contest. Starting to really starting to think of how do you monetize all this stuff. And we see the Yahoo logo up here. Now we jump forward 3 years. Not many changes until year 2000, and a big changes here. If we flip back and forth, right? We've gone to 3 columns. What's starting to happen is a density of links. The thought back then was you give the user as many options on the home page as possible. And if you were to count up the links here, I mean, there's probably several hundred on this page alone. They tried to put things in categories to help you find where you are more. So here's Yahoo Shopping, thousands of stores, millions of products. And then here's that list is still here, which really still hasn't changed from arts and humanities to society and culture. That's still here, but it's starting to get surrounded by other stuff. Marketplace. Now here's shopping, but here's marketplace. More choices of things to do up here. No real advertisements per se. You could download a Yahoo Messenger, so kind of an action here. And then what's new, check email, and that wasn't there before, so they replaced their little icons on top with check email. What's the other one? Today's news is now personalize and a help button. So they've kept the model of having 4 buttons at the top next to Yahoo, but they've changed what is in there in the 3 years. Yahoo prefers Visa, and back here it was Visa. So they changed some things, but it's still here. So, but still, tons of links, very dense. You have World Yahoos, Yahoos Get Local, other stuff. Autos, careers, digital. What's different than this than some of these categories in here? Okay, let's jump ahead to 2001. It starts to get a little, they're trying to make it easier to scan stuff, but they're still dumping tons of icons in. So yet more list up here that you have to scan through and say, oh, new thing, auctions. We have 6 buttons up here now. We've added a calendar, messenger, email still there. What's new is moved to this side, personalize and help. They're still trying to get people to use Yahoo Messenger, Yahoo Mail, Yahoo Messenger. So here's Messenger. Here's a link for Messenger. Powered by Compact. This looks like the first ad we've seen. And let's see, so in the news, Marketplace inside Yahoo is still here, but they've added broadcast events. Yahoo Shopping, still here. So, they had a green bar to sort of help you find this here. Here they've gotten rid of it, and now they've got these brown bars over here for these places. Jump ahead to 2002. So here we see sort of the first major ad, Spider-Man. Buy it now, buy it today. And you click here and you can do that. A new category, Yahoo Movies, which based on the visual hierarchy, they really want people to pay attention to. We can kind of date ourselves the movies that are showing here, The Ring, Jackass, Santa Claus 2, and some movies that are coming up, Harry Potter 2, and so forth. Still, here are those still categories, but they've changed a little bit. So if we go back up here, society and culture is no longer there. They've started to change these categories. They've made it a little easier to read by adding some space in here. And they've also, this is the first time we see the tab, the concept of the tab being come up, so forth. Looks like it's finances now at the top. Finance wasn't there before, and our buttons at the top. Shop is now at the top. That's replaced email. Email's on the other side. So it's kind of represents how to monetize what's happening. Yahoo Music Experience. And here's an ad, web hosting from Yahoo. I guess that's an ad. So, we're starting to see that. We're starting to see more photographs. Right, so if you think about it, in 2001, there's not a single photograph on this page. This is the first time, at least in terms of the, we're starting to see photographs appear. Okay, 2003, still dense, tons of links. Looks like these buttons at the top are the same. Not a lot of changes between 2002 and 2003, except now the difference is look at the search. They've put a box around it. They've sort of decided that they wanted to feature search, as opposed to Yahoo was the original browser where you browse through using this thing, links down here. But now the search is coming a little more prominent. Still very dense with links. Yahoo personal ads now. That's a becoming big thing. And here's the news. It's hard to scan here. No real current line space between here. Tough to read. And so forth. Okay, so let's see. So it's 2005. So here's there's something that's happened. They've stretched this search across the whole bar. Top bar with a button still there. And it seems a little, they've dropped the tab thing and now they've put it over here. They're probably thinking that they were going to add some tabs here. Who knows? But now they've dropped the tab and they've gone across. I think it's the first time we've seen weather, place available to get weather on the home page. Seen a couple more photographs in different places, a little picture in the marketplace. But the most significant thing is what's gone. The original Yahoo search by category has been dumped in 2005. and just for basically a lot of links to a lot of things, to do. In some ways, it's hard to know what Yahoo's trying to become at this point. And then something interesting happened in 2006. When I was using when I was pulling these pages with the Wayback Machine, the webarchive.org, this came up as I went to 2006, and it says, in order to see all the new Yahoo homepage has to offer, please upgrade to a more recent browser. Now, these archives, it's hard to know. They don't know what browser I'm using and so forth. But you can see this is what this is, huge browser wars. Internet Explorer was a big deal. Firefox 1.5, Safari, and Netscape wasn't on there. I can't remember when Netscape disappeared. But you had to have a current browser because there are new features, new web capabilities, coding capabilities that required you to get the latest features. And if you didn't have that, it just sort of gave you this page with some really basic things to do, and then said, why miss out? So that page came up again and again and again as I was going through, and finally when I was looking for pages in 2009, here we see huge leap from this to this. Now the page is getting wider as computers got wider. They have all these little icons over here. We've moved to 5 columns. If you think about it as a grid, there's 5 columns. 1, 2. This is spanning 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Web search is prominent, and you see we've lost our little pet icons up here that were there for the longest time. And now the place that you put your logo is in the upper left, like the rest of the world was doing. So basic things to do up here. But all of a sudden, the whole thing's a lot easier to read. Look, we have some line spacing between this bullet list. Here we have the tabs. They've realized that they can they can have the availability of a gajillion links, but by having tabs here, you can go through links to see these things. Blah, blah. So here's kind of an ad, much bigger photograph being featured. We have the video link, which I don't think we had a video link in 2005. Now, what's interesting about going back in this, it's trying to find it on here. You've got to sort of scan and look at everything. It's not easy. I don't see a video link, and if I do, it's kind of buried. So that's a new feature indicating that video is starting to become much more prominent. We have this sort of featured. Well, yeah, you click on this and it changes this up here in terms of what's happening in 2009 and so forth. Web Pulse, we're starting to see, at least on Yahoo's page, trends. What's, I think, trending, that's what they called it back then. So if we go to 2012, now it's called trending. Not much change between 2009 and 2012. We still have this feature, what's new today. You click on these and it changes what's here, pointing up. Still have this, they've really liked their icons and categories on the left here. Still a lot of links in here. Yahoo Autos now. Now look at this. Must see videos on Yahoo. Cat video. So we knew that cat videos are always popular in Yahoo. Back in 2012 was catching on. Notice also that the search is even more prominent up here with a little gradated button. But in general, this a little less dense than that. So this is a major change from here. So let's go through 2012. We're still navigating through this left column. It looks like we're going if I look at the grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 columns now grid. From my information design class when we did columns. If I look back at this one, here we had 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grid, 5 vertical column grid. And and here we've gone to 6. So they decided that they wanted to pack more in still, get a 6th column. We still have these featured stories here clicking up here, but you notice that now because they've gone to a 6-column mode and made this one narrow and these narrow, they've got an extra featured story here. Okay, in addition to our cat video. Search now has become even a little bit more prominent. It's clear that they want, that's becoming really important. Them trying to, Yahoo trying to survive, and Google has obviously become the dominant search engine, the way people find things, and Yahoo's trying to keep up, going from just a browser interface to all kinds of information, things to do. Just look at all the things you can do here. Dating, autos, Flickr. I don't know if Yahoo owned Flickr at this point. Probably. Games, horoscopes. Who shows horoscopes on a homepage now? Jobs, mail, messenger, movies. My Yahoo, which goes to sort of a portal page for yourself. I'm not sure what OMG is. Real estate, screen, shine. I don't even know what that is. Sports, travel, and weather down here. Yahoo on Facebook. So is that, let's see, is that the first we've seen a social icon? I think, right? Yes. So what's happened in 3 years, and maybe it creeped into some iterations of the web page. I just pulled major changes that I saw, but now for the first time we've seen social icons here. As a way to, it's something to navigate to. 2013. Okay, so here's a huge interface change now. Search is not as crazy prominent, but still at the top. Notice how the Yahoo logos become a lot smaller. They realized that they didn't need to do that much space. They've completely run down their icons. If you look how many are here. What, 20, 25? They've got that down to a dozen, probably based on statistics of what the most popular are. OMG, still not sure what that is. I have to go back and say, or Shine. But back then they thought it was important. And more Yahoo sites, that probably gives you the longer list on the left. But it looks like we're going even wider. And if I look at the grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think we're 7 columns wide now. News is much more prominent. Go back up here. Like news is like here, and there are these little categories. But look at how much more prominent. Oh, I'm sorry. I went back too far. Look how news is sort of a list down here. But look at much more prominent news is in terms of stories, featuring a thumbnail. This time of the tournament here, so they haven't putting sports in. Weather figures prominent. Here's trending stuff up here. But now we're starting to get a little less dense. If you compare, well, I'll show you later, the amount of links when we first started and up till 4 or 5 years in, the number of links on here. Still a lot to do and a lot of things to click, but a little easier to scan. They still now, and also notice they've gone horizontally now. You can scroll through different 35 of these little stories. If we look here, they were still doing this click up and they only had 5. Now they realize if we can arrow left, arrow right, we can scroll through lots of stories. And I imagine what happens is that, yeah, you click on this, it shows it here. They realize that they didn't have to have a little up arrow anymore. They can just click here. The person would know that that's what's going to appear in this featured screen up here. And look, a little ad for Yahoo here. The top headline's the most interesting chit chat. And it looks like they're trying to emulate a little newspaper. See, so they're trying to figure out who they are. What are they? Okay, so then we go to 2014. Sorry, I think this isn't showing too well, but they're still scrolling through here. Same format. They're still advertising their stuff. Yahoo Food, check it out. Action verbs. Search right up here. But one thing that there's a big addition here, which is look at the very top bar. They realize now what's become kind of prominent is now horizontal navigation with things up here grouped by certain categories. So the question is, what are different about these links that's different about these links? So mail, answer, groups, Flickr, Tumblr, games, live, screen, mobile, more. This is about personal. Tumblr is a blog, games, live, screen, looking at things. These are about more about e-commerce and information to about how you conduct your life. These are about things you want to look at. And I'm not even sure what the other categorize it, but the idea is this horizontal menu needs to be topics that are associated, and these need to be associated. These are still trending here. Pushing food, only on Yahoo, trying to show that they're exclusive. Top stories. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's different between these stories here, and these stories here. You know, as a news page, it's trying to be a news page. I'm not sure where to start looking first. At this point, Yahoo has become a pretty important news source. That's where they found their niche, one of their niches, and hiring a lot of journalists and broadcasters and writers away from other major journalism organizations. But still, as a page, it's still kind of, you know, not easy to know what to look at here in terms if I'm looking at news. Why is top stories here, but all stories here? Why is top stories, you know, how is it a top story? So let's jump ahead here. So getting near the end, 2016, let's see what's happened. So we still have our little top, it's a little shorter. They have 6 categories up top. They have made this a little easier to read and scan, and big. Oh, actually, what we should notice, going back here, okay, so skeuomorphism is dropped in 2012 thanks to Apple. Now we have our flat little, we don't have our 3D little buttons anymore. We've gone to flat design. Try not to look so it's not skewed. And then same thing, 2014, flat design has become more prominent. If you look at the 2012, little shaded buttons, and then 2013, we've gone to much flatter design as that became popular thanks to Apple. And then even here, they've even refined their little icons even more, much more cleaner list to look at. They looks like they started to clean up their news act, right? Here, there's don't know where to look for the news. Got rid of top news. I guess they're still trending up here, but now they still, this has persisted. This little, but we're no longer can we scroll left or right. They've sort of now are dictating what you should look at. Well, to look at least in terms of this piece. But that, you know, if you go way back, that idea of the four stories that changed the feature here was 2009. Really hung in there all the way to 2016. See, in 2014, you could go right and left. 2016, you couldn't anymore. But the idea of this really persisted. This little navigation piece up here, but it's a lot cleaner. And I imagine that you'd scroll down and see all the stories here that people like to scroll through and see what stories they want to read and click through. Excuse me. 2017, we've dumped our little icon list on the left. We have a list up here at the top horizontal. We have now introduced, which we didn't have before. So it looks like news, sports, finance on the left has swung to a horizontal here. And then, but they have this up here, and there's some redundancy. Mail here is in both places. That's about it. But here they have categories of news now. Decided that that this was kind of wasting space. When you had a long menu on the left menu was really an advantage because you could go on forever. But when you go to a horizontal menu, you're sort of restricted by the width of the page. But they realize that using the More button here, they can kind of control how many are here. Once again, now you scroll through. Still, though, the idea of this featured story with a picture here, you click and see what's up here. But by getting rid of the left column, they've added 5 stories there that they can feature instead of 4. Look, install the new Firefox. Interesting, 2017. Yeah, so that brings us up to date. That's the last of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this screen. Notice going from, now this is like evolution in front of our eyes. Here's 1996, here's 2017. I tried my best to make these relative screen sizes. Computers are a lot smaller then. And notice how the density of links here, just looking at it. So this was up until 2006, pretty much the same kind of style. Tons of links, but added some other capability, added some pictures as I went over, made it a little easier to try to read. Here's a huge change in 2009. So, but see, now 2006 and 2009, huge difference. Now, when that actually happened in there, I suspect it was earlier in 2009, but the Wayback Machine, the webarchive.org, I probably could find the new website in between here and here, but I think for the point I'm trying to make, you can see the huge leap here. Then you can see the pages got bigger and wider until we get here in 2017. So that's interesting to see. And if I actually blow this up, I can scroll around, and when we can sort of look at a glance, see how things changed. And you can see changes in navigation, link density, right? And those are the first 10 years. And, you know, in this, what happened in 2013, the age of the left navigation with the little flat icons, but it's fun to see how between 12 and 13, how they dropped the skeuomorphic little icons, went with a much shorter list and went to flat design. And then we go back here with the, I would call the contemporary age, which started back in 13. Flat, really finding them place as a news organization, right? And what's interesting about this last one, not too many ads. Where are the ads? Are they down below? We scroll down. Are the ads if you go inside? But this is not so much about monetization as this is about navigation and link density and how we get around and what's changed over the years. So this has been a lot of fun to do. Thank you. I really I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I'll make this PowerPoint available if you want to kind of look at it and stroll through on your own. Thank you.